A beautiful and spectacular event, and it has all been canceled because the French government can no longer keep its own people safe from potential radical Islamic terrorists that they have welcomed into their country. Think about that. France has let in so many Middle East and North African migrants that they can no longer assemble in crowds. We're watching one of the most beautiful countries and cultures in the world commit suicide, and this threat has now spread all over the West. This is not singular to Australia or France. It is everywhere now, including in Germany, where many are too scared to go to the country's many famous Christmas markets because they are now so dangerous. They're such a target for radical Islamists. Take a listen to the details from this report.
Terrorists have struck 7 European Christmas markets since 2014, 3 in France and 4 in Germany, all carried out by men of Muslim or Middle Eastern backgrounds. Authorities arrested 5 men suspected of planning attack number 8 in Germany last week. One of them, a Muslim cleric from a German mosque who urged his followers to kill as many people as possible.
Yeah, attack number 8 foiled. There was another attack in Poland on a Christmas market foiled as well. The one in Germany, a Muslim cleric that left Egypt to move to Germany, moving to a country which tolerantly allows him to work at a mosque, to have a mosque. And what does he do when he gets to Germany and he's saved by the West? He begins indoctrinating other Muslims to murder as many Christians as they possibly can. Going to a German Christmas market at this point is a bit like playing Russian roulette. Is today the day that one of our asylum seekers living off our tax dollars is going to plow his car through this market and kill 20 of us? We don't know. In Australia, where 16 were murdered on a beach this past Sunday, many say that they have felt the threat skyrocket as their own government imported tens of thousands of migrants from Muslim countries. The Muslim population doubling in a decade in Australia. The left-wing Prime Minister of Australia, the Labour Party, a country that has the strictest gun laws in the world already, just wants to add more gun laws, light a candle, and move on.
Light a candle, put it in their front window tonight at 6:47 p.m. to show that light will indeed defeat darkness. We will I'll take to National Cabinet this afternoon a proposal to empower agencies to examine what can be done in this area.
Being led by people that couldn't care less if you live or die, completely detached from reality. Politically correct nonsense. Stronger gun laws so the Islamists have a harder time murdering us is the answer, right? They don't want to actually fix the problem. They'll let thousands of us die before they'll be accused of being racially intolerant. They care far more about their political orthodoxies than your life. You should always remember that. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same...
Hey, Shalom. Call HALAL, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH is giving all praise to the Most High. In the name of His only begotten Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, double honors to our teachers, the elders, and apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us His truth and sincerity, peace and salutations to those full scattered abroad. Shalom to the 144,000. And in this caption it says, breaking: Australia, France, and Germany have now all canceled their New Year's celebrations.
Spin, right. You turn the channel, it's always...
Breaking: Australia, France, and Germany have now all canceled their New Year's celebrations. And they've been speaking about this with this whole, Tia tax is going to increase, and now we're seeing that, the Lord has have these nations canceling their traditions of men, okay? Because the New Year's is not on January 1st in the dead of winter. The New Year's is in the spring, but they have this man-made tradition where they pop fireworks and they celebrate the New Year in the dead of spring, and now that's being canceled, which shows you that Esau is pretty much through, man. All right. This place is through. So let's bring that out real quick. All right. Going over here, it says, let's bring this out. The rudiments. Because a lot of these people out here are, getting a, and let me say this too. Okay, because we're not simple. We understand, how this thing works. And truthfully, the small hats are behind a lot of this, man. They showed like 3 attacks. I believe it was the Bondi, and then there was the 9/11 and another attack. And for sure, that Bondi situation has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And we know about 9/11, who was dancing and celebrating, a few buildings away. So this is the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after HaMashiach. So these people, they're celebrating the traditions of men. And now that's being interrupted. Okay? Now that's being interrupted. And they don't like that. All right? So this is all a ploy to bring the world closer to war, and try to get, I believe this is the small hats trying to entice the rest of the world to, fight against Iran and ultimately start World War III, which is going to bring in the end of Esau's rulership in his kingdom. Okay? So it says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after the Mashiach. And that's what this world teaches you, to follow the traditions of men, the rudiments of this world, and not after the Lord. All right, so now that that's being, cut down, I just went into it last night about those blackouts in San Francisco made people not able to shop, which they said they might do the same thing for these Christmas events too. Shut down these particular Christmas events out of fear of being blown up by some, Islamic terrorist. All right, but we understand that, what's really going on here, man. Let's grab this too. Okay, because, to think that Esau, it says 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay, so Satan cannot get an advantage of us because we see what this devil is doing. It's clear, it's obvious. In the NLT it says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. We understand this man's evil schemes. He wants to bring this, tension, this dissension, so that he can ultimately, bring in, World War III. Okay, that's what it's about, man. All right. And if you simple, you'll fall for this and be taken by this, madness until your own demise, your own destruction. Okay, but we have come to the understanding that Esau is definitely doing things behind the scene, and it's going to increase as you get close to the end of this place, man. All right, it's going to increase, So let's go over here. It says, this is Ephesians chapter 5, and this is an eye opener to be very mindful, okay, in these last days, and keep your head on a swivel, because you never know. You might go to a particular event, which you shouldn't be anyways, but you might go. Slovakia. You might go to a particular event and get blown up now, okay? And then the whole time they could tell you it's somebody else, while the whole time it's the small hats doing it, just like 9/11. They told you it was these people, so they did it to justify them going to war. Okay, and this is how you see the world, and then the intense state it is in today. It says Ephesians chapter 5 verse 15. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. We're in some very evil times, man. Okay, and it's only going to get worse as days go on. It's wherefore be ye not unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And we understand the Lord's will is that this place be destroyed. Okay. So as they make these things, let me see, as they're doing all this wickedness in the earth, we're identifying where it's coming from and who it's coming from. But the majority of the world, they're going to fall for these talking points and be taken by this stuff. Okay, at the end of the day, Esau is ruling this world. Okay, and he has the power to let the people in and kick them out. All right, he has the power to shut this place down and keep things going. Which when you go into a lot of this stuff, ISIS and that was fun about the CIA, man. All right, this is Proverbs chapter 28:29. In verse 2, it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And people are mourning right now. Okay, people are all bugged out, tripping. All right, because why? The wicked is bearing rule, which when you go into who's ruling the world right now, truthfully, who's calling the shots, who has all the power, it's definitely these so-called ish people, man. All right, you can't even say their names because that's how powerful they are. All right, they'll take the video down. But you know, this is just a heads up. You know, and these, you know, as this so-called year is ending, you know, going into so-called 2026, keep your head on the swivel. You know, stay spiritual. You know, stay circumspect, and be mindful that you got evil lurking in the midst, man. Okay, stay away from crowds. Okay, because the time we're coming into, it's gonna get very, 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 very bad out here, and uncomfortable for these Babylonians, and we don't want no part of the judgment that the Lord has set up for them. In the NOT it says, when the godly are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in power, they groan. So yeah, people are groaning because the wicked are in power. All right, and they're the ones that's calling these shots, making these particular talking points, and pushing this, you know, propaganda and fear, while, you know, well, with one hand, while they're doing it all themselves with the other hand. So that's why we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. We understand what's going on. We understand what time it is, and understanding that, be mindful, be alert, and be you know, ready, you know, for anything, man. All right, stay prayed up, stay in the spirit of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, we almost out of here. Shalom.